Welcome back everybody to the Joey Osborne Show. I'm your host, Joey Osborne, for today's mock draft video here. We are getting into it here with another mock draft. Free agency has come and gone, and lots has happened. So let's get into it here. A lot of things, obviously, of course. Looking here, obviously, first overall pick. The Chicago Bears have the pick. And a lot of things have been going on in Chicago, especially in free agency-wise. They got a new running back, DeAndre Swift. They traded for wide receiver Keenan Allen. But the one thing that we expect to happen that has not happened yet is Justin Fields being traded. He is still there at this moment here. But the assumption is now officially he will not be QB1 next year. And the Bears, their first overall pick, are going to take Caleb Williams, the quarterback out of USC. This is all but written by now. There's not much changing this. There's not really a contest as to who is the first overall pick now. We know it's Williams, pretty much. It's like Trevor Lawrence was a couple years ago. You kind of already know he's going first overall. And yeah, I think definitely the Bears are looking for something out of that quarterback position. They have not seen it in a while. And they are looking for something to get out of there. And I think definitely Justin Fields has not been the answer they've been wanting. They want a better solution, and I think they think Caleb Williams is that better solution. And to be quite honest with you here, I have said in the past, I really don't like Caleb Williams a lot. I don't think he's going to be a spectacular quarterback. And I'm not going to say he is. I'm still holding fast on that he's not going to be Pat Mahomes or anything like that. But I am starting to think here, just looking at the way he plays, comparing it to the way Justin Fields plays, he probably actually is an upgrade. So I think right here for Chicago, as much as I would say they probably should still just take Marvin Harrison Jr. That's what I'd prefer to do, is just straight down and take Marvin Harrison. Overall, honestly, Williams is probably an upgrade, and this will probably help out the franchise. So they are going to go Williams here with that selection. Moving on to the Washington Commanders, they are going quarterback here, and they will take Jayden Daniels, the quarterback at LSU. Obviously, he's the reigning Heisman winner, a lot of great flashes. Mobile quarterback who can throw it on the run and has a lot of flashes compared to some quarterbacks, and definitely a lot of excitement there. Washington, they're looking for a QB. Their franchise QB just traded Sam Howell to Seattle. They're looking for their franchise guy, and they get it here with their selection. Obviously, I think out of the quarterbacks in this draft, I think Daniels is the one I like the most. I will say that. I think he has a little more upside than Williams, but that's just my opinion, obviously. But I think Boston gets a steal here at number 2. Moving on to New England, they are also going quarterback here, Drake May. So the top 3, once again in this mock draft, will stay the same as New England's looking for that quarterback, and they get it there with this selection here. Now, moving on to Arizona. This one is interesting here, because I think what happens here is they are going to, I think they are going to stay here and still get Marvin Harrison Jr., the wide receiver out of Ohio State. Obviously, they lost Hollywood Brown last night to the Chiefs. They've traded Wandale Moore. The wide receiver room is pretty much just isn't well built out. And they need a wide receiver, and they take it here on Marvin Harrison Jr. and get Kyler Murray, one of the best weapons that you're going to ever see out there. Great guy, a lot of great things. I think Marvin Harrison Jr., in my opinion, is the best player in this draft, and probably one of the best wide receivers we've seen in a good while. Moving on to the number 5 overall pick here, the Los Angeles Chargers, and this is where things get interesting here, because we have a trade. So let's get this going here. So where is LA? LA Chargers are going to be trading down with the Minnesota Vikings. LA will trade the 5th overall pick to Minnesota for 11 and 23. And LA will also give up a 4th, a 6th, and a 3rd just to make this work here. And the trade up will happen here. And Minnesota is on the clock at 5, and with their selection here, they are going quarterback J.J. McCarthy with the selection. They need the quarterback bad. It has not happened yet. They want more out of this team, and I think that's what they do here. And they get that with this selection here. Obviously, J.J. McCarthy, I'm not the biggest fan of him. However, the NFL scouts, for some reason, are loving this guy. I'm not sure why. He just throws like 5-yard passes on slants, and then occasionally he gets his tight end wide open and gets a deep shot. Honestly, I think Blake Corum kind of takes all the shame off McCarthy, in my opinion, but a lot of NFL scouts like him, and allegedly Minnesota is very much in love with him. They today just acquired the 23rd overall pick from the Texans, so they have 2 first-round picks, and obviously it is with the intention of trading up. They do it here, and LA will trade down to 11, but with also getting 23 as well. Moving on here to the New York Giants. This is another place that can get interesting here. And you know what here? Giants have a lot of areas where they have needs. Wide receiver is one, for sure. I don't think they're touching O-line, and I don't think they're touching another quarterback here. At least I can't see him taking Bo Nix or Penix in the first round here. I can't see that. So I'm going to take the quarterback out here. And I think with this selection here, they're going to still go wide receiver. However, I do think, actually, no, I'm going to have them get Malik Nabble still here. I think that fall still was the best move. But moving on to Tennessee here, a lot of places they can go, and I think they're going to stay at 7. I don't think we're going to see a trade down. And I do think they're going to take Joe Alt still. So I think that still remains the same. They have a needed offensive line. They address it here with this selection. Obviously, they're trying to protect Will Levis the best they can. They need more from that O-line. They get it there with that selection. Moving on to Atlanta. This is another team here that I do think is going to stay in their spot. I do not think it's going to be a trade up or trade down. I think Atlanta stays hold here, and they will take Dallas Turner, the edge rusher out of Alabama, for their selection. They have a needed edge. They get it there with that selection here. Moving on to the Chicago Bears. They could stay put here, and they could also trade down. And what I think happens here is I think we're going to see a trade here from Chicago. I think they are going to trade down to 9. And I think there was a wide receiver hungry team that is going to trade up here at this spot. So let's get Chicago here. And I think one team that really would be willing to trade up here is the Los Angeles Chargers. I think they're going to trade back up here and nab a wide receiver in this selection. So, where was that way? We can find the Chargers here. There we go. So they're going to trade 11 and 9 and also give up their 4th-round pick. And with the 9th overall pick, the Los Angeles Chargers here will select Rome Odunze, the wide receiver out of Washington, as they finally build up that wide receiver room and get Justin Herbert some more weapons here in that spot. Moving on here to the New York Jets. Their selection here, they're going to go offensive line, and they're going to go, I can't say his first name, Aluma Fashianu, the offensive tackle out of Penn State. Honestly, in my opinion, I think this is the best tackle in the draft. I really like this guy. The scout-wise, I think Alt's going to go for us, but I think Fashianu is the best one out here, and the Jets get a steal in this position here. Moving on here to the Chicago Bears. Once again here at 11. This time they will stay hold, and I think this time they are going to address the defensive side of the ball here and take Jared Vegas, the edge rusher out of Florida State, with that selection. Obviously, they have Montez Sweat, but they need someone on the other side, and Vegas will fill a hole there. Obviously, they are trying to contend. It's clearly shown through the picks they've been making. They want to contend, and they do it there off that selection. Moving on here to the Denver Broncos. A lot of places they can go. Quarterback was one a lot of people thought they would go after, but there's nothing here right now. And I think they are going to stay hold. However, they are going to be going at a different position here. And I think their selection here, they are going to go with a cornerback here. And I have Keon Mitchell going to them here as they try to rebuild their defense. Obviously losing the safety. Justin Simmons is a big hit to that defense and secondary. They're going to need to reload it and get a better one. Obviously build around Pat Surtain II. And they get a big move right here of a big-time cornerback in Keontae Mitchell with that selection. Moving on to the Las Vegas Raiders. I think this is another team that is going to be going cornerback here. And I have Tillian Arnold, the cornerback out of Alabama, moving up to 13 and being their selection there at that spot. Once again, it's a defense that has a lot of promise, but it still has a couple holes to fill. cornerback is one of those holes, and they filled here with that selection as the Raiders are trying to start competing once again here in this spot, especially after getting Christian Wilkins and having a very deadly D-line. They need upgrades at the cornerback position. They get here of that selection. Moving on here to the New Orleans Saints. A lot of places they can go here. Offensive line is a big one here, and I definitely think they can do a lot of things here. However, I think with their selection here, New Orleans, I think they're going to go. They need help in the defense. I think they're going to go edge rusher here. If Laiatu Latu, the edge rusher from UCLA, they need a lot more youth on that defense. It's a unit that's really declined and has lost a lot of free agency in recent years. Obviously, Cam Jordan is close to retiring. They need a replacement, and they get it here on Latu. Moving on to the Indianapolis Colts. This is going to be an easy pick here. They're going to get a weapon for Anthony Richardson here in Brock Bowers, their selection. As he falls down to 15 in this mock draft, it's not really that his skill is down. He is bad in submissions right now, but I don't think that's going to affect him. I just think there's a lot of quarterback-hungry teams in this spot, and the other teams that are there really, at this point, just do not have a need for Bowers. Other than the Chargers, but looking now at the Chargers wide receiver, cool after how free agency has begun, losing both Mike Williams and Keenan Allen, they're kind of stuck with picking a wide receiver there in that spot. Moving on here to the 16th overall pick, Seattle. A lot of places they can go. And I think here they are going to go on the defensive side of the ball here. I think they're going to take Byron Murphy, the defensive tackle, out of Texas for that selection. They have a lot of holes, a lot of places. D-line is one of them. And they fix that here in this spot. Moving on to Jacksonville. I think they're going to go wide receiver here. And I think Brian Thomas Jr. will be the selection at 17. Obviously, losing Calvin Ridley, big loss for that team. They're going to need another wide receiver. Gabe Davis is good, but he's probably not going to push the needle as much as you would like. Brian Thomas Jr., a guy out of LSU, who really can push that needle and help get that team to where they expect to be, which is Super Bowl contending. Moving on to Cincinnati, a lot of places they can go. But I think here they're going to go offensive tackle here, and they'll take Talisi Fuyaga, the offensive tackle out of Oregon State, with that selection here. Obviously, they need a lot of help on the left tackle side, obviously. Actually, no, right tackle, my mistake, right tackle. Because left tackle is Orlando Brown. The other side needs work, and they get there Fuyaga with that selection here. Moving on to the 19th overall pick here, Los Angeles. A lot of places they can go, and now for the recent news just a couple minutes ago of Aaron Donald retiring here, massive holes all over that defense. They have some nice young defensive talent here, and they definitely are going to need it here, and I think they are going to try to pick up some more young offensive talent here. And with this selection here, they're going to take Nate Wiggins, the cornerback out of Clemson here, with their selection as they try to get some more youth into that position here. Now moving on to the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is an interesting spot here. They can go a lot of places here. Offensive line, I think, right here is going to be the big one. I think that's what they address here. Armaeus Mims, they have been given a lot of attention, but Jackson Powers Johnson is the other guy they have given a lot of attention to. However, in this mock draft here, I think they are going to be selecting Armaeus Mims, the offensive tackle, out of Georgia with their selection here as they try to beef up that offensive line. Moving on to the 21st overall pick with the Dolphins. Once again, we're going to see another offensive tackle off the board here in J.C. Latham. He's taking a big tumble in this mock draft, but that's more, in fact, just due to, obviously, so many teams being quarterback hungry and trading up. It's kind of changed the whole dynamic of this draft here. Moving on to Philadelphia. Obviously, a lot of places they can go, but I think the obvious one right here is they need a center. And there's one right here in Jackson Powers Johnson out of Oregon. He is going to be selected by Philly at that selection as they try to find a replacement for Jason Kelce after his retirement here. Moving on to Los Angeles. The Chargers again here. A lot of places they can go once again. Wide receiver they already addressed. And obviously, they technically could do it again if they want to. However, I do not think they are going to do it. I think right here, they're going to address the offensive side of the football again with a tackle here, and they will take Troy Fatianu out of Washington with that selection. Moving on here to Dallas. They they're in need of an offensive tackle right now. They lost Tyron Smith. They are in the need of that. And I think their selection, they will do that here. And they'll take Tyler Guyton, the offensive tackle out of Oklahoma, with that selection here. Moving on here to Green Bay, a lot of places they can go, and I think cornerback is the one they do here. And I think they'll take Cooper DeJean, the cornerback out of Iowa. I really like this guy. I think he's got a lot of great things going for him. But it'll be interesting to see what all they do here with that selection. Moving on to Tampa Bay, a lot of places they can go here, obviously. But I think the main issue right now is offensive line. It's an area which they've had a lot of decrease in just due to, number one, age, but also retirement. And they've lost a lot of great pieces on that offensive line. They're looking for more from it, and I think they get it here as they draft Graham Barton, the interior offensive lineman out of Duke, with that selection here. Moving on to Arizona, a lot of places they can go once again here. Obviously, D-line's one they can definitely address. Cornerback is another one that can be addressed here. However, I feel like here, just looking at their wide receiving core, it's very depleted due to trades and free agency. And honestly, if you have Marvin Harrison Jr., why not get another one here in Xavier Worthy? The speedster out of Texas, I have him going to Arizona at 27 here, as the Cardinals decide to continue to load up on the offense. They have Colin Murray, they get Marvin Harrison Jr., and they decide, you know what? We're in a division of a lot of tough defenses, especially with San Francisco having a very tough defense. And if you want to win that division, you're going to need all the offense you can get. And why not have a duo of both Worthy and Marvin Harrison Jr.? And honestly, I think it's just a perfect move right there if you're Arizona. A lot of places you can go, and that's what you do there with that selection. Moving on here to Buffalo. Once again, a lot of need, a lot of places you can go. And I think this one, they're going to go wide receiver here, and I think Adonai Mitchell, the wide receiver out of Texas, will go 28. They need wide receiver help after losing Gabe Davis. Buffalo gets it here as they try to obviously retool and get back into contending mode after all these cuts that they made last week. Moving on here to Detroit. Once again, this is a team that's very close. A lot of great things they can do here. And I think their selection here, they're going to address the defensive side of the football here. And they're going to go get themselves someone to rush on the opposite end of Aiden Hutchinson. And that will be Chop Robinson, the edge rusher out of Penn State, with that selection there. Moving on here to Baltimore. Once again, they're in everything, go a lot of places. Wide receiver is definitely somewhere they can go. I think cornerback is another one you could definitely see happening. Obviously, the potential losing to Devian Clowney, one of their edge rushers. And honestly, however, I think here they're going to address the defensive side of the football. And I see a team with D lineman in John Newton out of Illinois with that selection there, as they try to beef up that defense in this spot. Moving on here to San Francisco, a lot of places they can go. However, I think in this spot here, they have Kool-Aid McKinstry fall into their lap. And I think there's just not much here offensive line-wise, but there's some good cornerbacks, and I think they take Kool-Aid McKinstry with their selection here at 31. Moving on here to Kansas City. Obviously, the big news is last night is that they got Hollywood Brown. So finally, they have a wide receiver there. And you know what? I think they are going to double down on it. You know what? I think Kansas City, their wide receiving core did not give them much that they wanted. They have Rashid Rice. He was good. But other than that, it was a very disappointing deal. They got Hollywood Brown here, and you know what? I think they're going to double down on wide receiver here and get Keon Coleman, the wide receiver out of Florida State, with that selection here. Moving on here to Carolina. Obviously, they just got Deontay Johnson in a trade here. Finally again, Bryce Young, a weapon. And I think in this spot here, they continue to help out Bryce Young, and they're going to take offensive tackle Jordan Morgan with their first selection here in the second round as they try to get some protection for Bryce Young in this spot. Moving on here to New England. A lot of places they can go, but they need wide receiver, and there's one right there in Ladd McConkey, the wide receiver out of Georgia. He has been shooting up draft boards as of recently. They're looking for more. They're trying to get more, and that's why they get here in this spot as they get Drake May, his wide receiver, a weapon here in this spot. Moving on here to Arizona, a lot of places they can go. And I'm going to say edge rusher, they're going to finally address the defensive side of the ball here, and they'll take edge rusher Darius Robinson with their selection here as they try to build up their defense once again. Moving on to Washington, a lot of places they can go, but not many wide receiver options on the board. I don't think they address that here, and I do think right here they're going to go a little more on the defensive side of the ball here, and I think they take Ennis Rakestraw Jr., the cornerback out of Missouri, with that selection there. Moving on here to LA, once again, they've addressed the offensive side of the ball twice now here, and they technically can do it again, but I think this time they are not going to do that. I think this time they're going to address the defensive side here and take Kamari Lassiter, the cornerback out of Georgia, with their selection here, as obviously their defense needs some more young pieces in there, and the cornerbacks in an area where they do need to address some needs there. Moving on to Tennessee, they are taking wide receiver in this spot here, and Troy Franklin out of Oregon will be the selection there. Obviously, they got Calvin Ridley now, and they do have, obviously, DeAndre Hopkins. However, there's not much youth there other than and Treylon Burks. They need more from that spot, and they take Troy Franklin here with that selection. Moving on to Carolina, once again, they need help on their line, and they get another offensive tackle here in Kingsley Sutamia out of BYU with the selection here at this spot. Moving on here to Washington, obviously at 40, a lot of places you can go. I think in this spot here, I think you can go offensive line, and I think they're going to take here Zach Frazier, the center out of West Virginia, with that selection here. Moving on here to Green Bay, a lot of places they can go, and I think safety is a good one to go here, and I think they're going to continue to build on that secondary as they'll take Tyler Nubin with their selection here in this spot. Moving on here to Houston, their first pick here in this draft, obviously trained out of the first round. A lot of places they can go. I think they build the defense here, and I think Trevonte Sweat out of Texas is the perfect selection for them there in that spot, and that's what they do with their pick here. Moving on here to Atlanta, a lot of places they can go. I think they're going to go wide receiver here. And I think Xavier Legette out of South Carolina is their selection now. So they're trying to get Kirk Cousins some more weapons here and try to build up that offense in the spot here. Moving on to the Raiders, I think this is where things get interesting here. I think we're going to see a quarterback off the board here. And I think Bo Nix is going to be a Las Vegas Raider as they take him with their selection here. Moving on here to New Orleans, a lot of places here they can go. I think they address D-line again, and I think Braden Fisk is the pick there with that selection. Moving on to Indianapolis here. Defense is an area of need. I think edge rusher specifically. And I think Braylon Trice out of Washington is their selection there as they try to get more out of their pass rush here. Moving on to New York. Once again, another quarterback off the board in my opinion. Michael Penix Jr. out of Washington is going to the New York Giants as they are looking to get more competition behind Daniel Jones and hopefully find their answer at quarterback here. Moving on here to Jacksonville, a lot of places they can go, and I think defense is where they go. I think D-line, and I think Chris Jenkins, the defensive lineman out of Michigan, is going to be their selection now with that pick. Moving on here to Cincinnati, a lot of places they can go here, and you know what I think they're going to go here? A lot of people would think wide receiver. However, I am not going to pick that because there's one little issue here with the Bengals that I've noticed big time, and a lot of other teams are going to have to address this who are in the AFC North. And that is Derrick Henry is a Raven. And honestly, because of that, you better make sure your defense is going to stop him, and you're going to need all the linebackers you can get here. And I think Edgerrin Cooper, the linebacker out of Texas A&M, is Cincinnati's selection with that pick. Because obviously, if Derrick Henry, you're going to need the best lineman you can get. And he is a great linebacker, and he can definitely be able to take him down. Moving on to Philadelphia. Once again, a lot of places they can go. I don't think wide receiver is something they address. I just don't think that is at this spot. However, I do think we definitely could see cornerback here. So where was he? Mike Strancil out of Michigan will be the selection at Philly's pick. They need more on the defensive side of the ball. They get it there. And moving on here now to the Pittsburgh Steelers. A lot of places they can go, but let's look at the wide receivers and see what's out there. Obviously, Roman Wilson is the big one, still out there on the board, and I think that is who the Pittsburgh Steelers select here out of Michigan with their selection as they get George Pickens, a number 2 wide receiver in this spot. Moving here to Los Angeles, a lot of places they can go. I think they continue to build on the defense. I think Chris Blaswell, the edge rusher out of Alabama, is the selection now with that pick. Moving on to Philly once again. I don't think they go on linebackers just because they've signed Devin White. They still have Darius Leonard. I don't really think they can address linebacker. I don't think wide receiver either, but offensive line, I could see them getting someone here. And I think Patrick Paul could be a selection for Philly at that spot. Obviously, they want to get some more youth into those positions there. Their offensive line has a couple of elder statesmen on it. Kelsey's already retired. And you gotta think here soon that they may see more people leaving and retiring at that spot. Moving on to the Browns here. Their selection here, they have a great defense, and I think they're gonna go defense here. Because someone came in the division who is tough to stop, and they're going to need help there. And I think they're going to take Junior Collison, the linebacker, out of Michigan with their selection now, as they try to get some people who can hopefully help take care of Derrick Henry with that spot. Because obviously when you got to face them 2 times a year, and it being a divisional rival, you got to make sure you're able to beef up enough. Moving on here to Miami, their selection, I think they're going to go offensive line again here. And Cooper, baby, out of Kansas State, I think is a perfect selection for Miami in that spot. Moving on to Dallas, once again, I think now this time they're going to address wide receiver here. I think Ricky Porcel, the wide receiver of Florida, is their selection with this pick. Moving on to Tampa Bay, once again, a lot of places you can go. But I think, obviously, they lost, Devin White. They need a linebacker, and I think Payne Wilson's right here. And I think he's a perfect solution for Tampa Bay in that spot. Moving to Green Bay here, once again, a lot of things they can do. And I think here, obviously, I think they're going to go edge rusher here. I think Marshawn Keeneland out of Western Michigan is their selection there. Obviously, they need more youth on that defense. It's clear as day. They've lost to Darius Smith in the last 2 years. They need some youth there in those positions. They get it right there. Moving on to Houston here. This spot here, I think they're going to go... honestly, they don't really have the running backs. Actually, they have Joe Mixon now, so they do have the running back. And I think they definitely need some more help on that defensive side of the football. And I think Coleman Kinsens is going to be the selection out of that spot, the safety out of Florida, as they try to get some more youth into that spot. Moving on to Buffalo. I think this is an obvious selection here. They need cornerbacks bad. TJ Tampa out of Iowa State is the selection there. Moving on here to Detroit. A lot of places they can go. But once again, I think they're going to go on the defensive side of the football. I think they're going to take Luke Horo, the defensive lineman out of Clemson. Hopefully I said that right. With their selection now, so they're looking to get more out of their defense here. They need to get some more youth there. They do that selection. Now moving on to Baltimore. Now in this spot, I think they're going to go wide receiver here. And I think they're going to take Jalen Polk, the wide receiver out of Washington, with that selection. Moving on to San Francisco. Obviously, they go in for Armstead. They're going to need to get some help there. And I think they pick it here with Michael Hall Jr. out of Ohio State as they try to get some more talent into that defensive line here for that defense. Moving on to KC. Here with the final pick of this mock draft. A lot of places they can go. A lot of people think they are going to trade Jadarius Sneed, and I do agree with that. And I think Max Bone, the cornerback out of Rutgers, will be the selection there in this spot. But I hope you guys enjoyed this mock draft. Thank you guys for watching here. Please comment, like, and subscribe, and tune in for more mock drafts. See you guys later. Bye.